Bad Taste was the first film from director Peter Jackson and stars Peter Jackson himself and a bunch of his friends, and is the story of a paramilitary group that is sent to a small town in New Zealand to take care of an alien problem. There's these aliens that have invaded this small town and taken over the people there, and are basically using them as a food source for their galactic food chain. After that, it's 92 minutes of complete madness. When I was little, The Lord of the Rings meant everything to me, and Peter Jackson was one of my favorite filmmakers. In fact, he was the one that influenced me the most in filmmaking and made me want to make movies, or at least do something with movies. In fact, it's really cool just seeing where he was then to what he became later. He's now considered one of the greatest directors of all time, and he made this small little movie with only $25,000, and it's a gem. Now, I don't want to give anybody's hopes up. This movie isn't an amazing movie or anything. It's very low budget, but for something that was made with $25,000 and made over a course of 4 years, this is really something cool. That said, I'm not going to be too harsh on the film when I find problems with it, because this is his very first film and it's very low budget as well as very rough around the edges, and it's just great seeing what he was able to do with the limitations for the film. It just shows that he has a great imagination for storytelling and just film in general. He does a lot of cool things in this film, and I'll talk about those. The biggest star of Bad Taste is, of course, the violence and the effects, and that's something that's littered throughout his entire filmography. You can see glimpses of bad taste in The Lord of the Rings. It's more tamed, but it's still there. Peter Jackson has always had this thing for grotesque violence, and it all starts here. A lot of the practical gore effects are really gruesome and really interesting and cool looking too. What he's able to do with these effects is just something amazing. In fact, Peter Jackson had made most of these effects himself. You see stuff like people's arms getting ripped off, or people transforming, or you see stuff like earlier in the film, Peter Jackson's character's head gets split open and the hair opens up and you can see bits of his brain on the inside, and he finds a piece of brain on the floor and puts it back in his head. It's disgusting, but it's really, really cool just what he was able to do. Also, let's just take a moment to admire these alien masks he created. Peter Jackson made these himself. He baked them in his mother's oven, and the design is just really cool and intricate. It really makes these aliens stand out from any aliens that have come before. I also like other effects he has in the film, such as a house blowing up, which is actually a complete miniature, but it looks real. Also, the guns in the film, you can probably tell now, but they're basically not real guns at all, but there's a charm to them that you just love, and when they fire the guns, they start moving like this because the recoil isn't there because they're not using real guns, and it's just really fun seeing them act this out, basically. Also, Peter Jackson really shows that he's good at making action scenes. All the action scenes in this film are very well choreographed and really interesting and involving, which just shows that he does this stuff again in The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. He's just got a passion for making action scenes. And one of the best action scenes in the film involves only Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson actually plays two people in this movie. In fact, all the actors play at least another character in the film. There's this part with Peter Jackson on a cliff where he's fighting with himself. And The editing is so well done that you can't tell at all. It looks so seamless, and in fact, these scenes, or these shots rather, were filmed months apart because the character that he plays through most of the movie is short-haired, glasses, dweeby, and doesn't have a beard. While the other character that he plays has this long hair and a grizzly beard, and it's just really cool watching this scene, and the editing is so seamless that it's just a great sequence. The film also has a lot of comedic moments too. There's a lot of body horror that ends up being really hilarious, and he plays a lot of it for laughs. None of the grotesque horror in this film is meant to completely shock you. It's meant to be really funny. But most of the comedy comes from just slapstick humor as well as just the absurdity of the story itself. This is not your normal film. This is very bizarre territory that he goes to, and it's very much like a 1950s B-movie. In fact, that might be what he was going to. And also, the movie actually reminds me a lot of Troll 2, only a much better movie. But I don't know, it has that feeling to it, and there's also a part where you have this green goo that just reminds me of the green goo that's in Troll 2. I don't know if he was influenced by that at all. That might just be me saying that, but I don't know. If it is, that's cool. It's also really cool just seeing what he was able to do with the budget he was given. I like it when directors can take a small budget and just turn it into something really cool. Because although, yes, it does look cheap, there's a quality to it that surpasses its cheapness. Is the film ultimately good, though? It's hard to say. It's different for everybody. This film isn't anything like amazing or anything, but what really sells it for me is just that Peter Jackson was able to make this, and the lengths he went to with making this. He spent 4 years on this movie. Originally, it was going to be a short film. And then also just all the makeup and the effects. There's a lot of passion behind this movie, and you can't help but love that. I'm not gonna knock a director because his movie was cheap and didn't look the best, because he was given so little money. But what he was able to do with it is what counts. And it's this movie that started his career. It's not the one that made him big, but it's the one that got him noticed enough to make more movies like Meet the Feebles, Heavenly Creatures, and eventually The Lord of the Rings. So, I think we should look back at filmmakers' first movies and take them with a grain of salt a little bit. Don't judge them too harshly, but see where they have evolved from. Because for many directors, some directors at least, their first film is never their best. Sometimes it's not even good. But here, it's a fun enough movie that you can enjoy for a while. And with all that said, I give Bad Taste a 7 out of 10. Guys, if you haven't seen Bad Taste, I say you check it out. It's really cool, and hopefully you can admire what was done with the small budget and just see where Peter Jackson came from and how he was able to make Lord of the Rings. It's a question I still don't understand, because I don't see how Bad Taste equals Lord of the Rings. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.